All right. Praise Yah. Thank you, YAHUAH, YAHUSHA, Ruach HaKodesh, for this most awesome third Yom of Sukkot, this Arab Shabbat that you have made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. For in 6 Yomim, YAHUAH, YAHUSHA, and Ruach HaKodesh, you created the Shamayim and the Arats and the sea and all that fills it, and rested on the seventh Yom, and you were refreshed. And you Kadashed the seventh Yom as the Shabbat, as a sign of the covenant, the Yom of rest between you and us and you, to know that you are Adonai Eloheinu, and that we are your people. And so we enter into that rest now, Abi Yahuwah, Mak Yahusha, Ruach HaKodesh, that it might be Echad one, that we abide in you and you in us, that we be Tamim as you are Tamim. For you, Abi Yahuwah, Mak Yahusha, they make us Tamim in your image in Ruach HaKodesh. And so we palal and petition these things, Abi Yahuwah, YAHUSHA, and Ruach HaKodesh with praise and Todah and gratefulness by the power of the Dam of the Shah, the renewed covenant, by your power and authority, YAHUSHA Mashiach, Adanainu Alahainu, Adani Ali, Turu Turu Tur, Aman, Aman, Aman. Hallelujah, Yahusha. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Yahusha. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Shabbat Shalom, Yasharal, Shabbat Shalom, Mashbaka. How are y'all doing this Arab Shabbat? Praise Yah. I originally titled this Open Mic, and only for the reason that I wanted to share a little bit some things that's been going on, um, some things I've been experiencing, and then we shall go into the Shabbat reading. All right, so I wanted to share, by the authority of YAHUSHA, if he shall allow me, some things I've been experiencing, some things I've been going through, that have been going on, and what I've been experiencing, and then jump right into the Shabbat reading. So, without further ado, shall go ahead and begin by saying Shabbat Shalom, and pleasure to be here. Thank y'all for having me. But yeah, I believe we're all Achad in the Ruach, and to some extent, we can't have anything unless but by Yahuwah in the Ruach HaKodesh. So it's an honor to be able to serve and minister and just be a conduit of Yahusha to just read the word, just share the word with understanding, and that's it. And so what I wanted to share before I begin the reading was basically, there's this video I've been trying to upload, it won't, and I just gave up, but it's still showing on my screen like it's trying to, so I just leave it alone. And but in there, I wanted to address something that it's still in the air that comes back to me. So I think it's Yahuwah reminding me that I do need to address it because people are wondering about it and it looks a little weird. But before I do that, I did wanted to again point out my sukkah in case y'all haven't seen it. Got the plants, rosemary, and what's the other one? Basil. And apparently they're healthy in a lot of different ways. Supposed to decorate with fruit, and ironically, I had mentioned a week before that that's pretty cool how this works. Like as soon as my phone starts skipping, I put my mind on YAHUSHA, and it works. Like I just gotta keep my mind on them as I'm operating. But yeah, someone gave this to me while I was going through PB to get some resources, Crab Apple Day, or whatever. Just going to get some resources, and I was checking the crab apples, had some of those, and I posted out this apartment manager was outside his apartment. He was looking at the trees, and it caught my eye, like, what's he looking at? And I remember it was a tree that I used to pick oranges from, but the oranges weren't abundant like they were before, because that when they were abundant, it was the Yubal year. It was the year of sabbatic Shabbat year, not the Yubal, the Jubilee, but it was a sabbatical year. Anyways, and then he just was telling me he had some some what do you call it, passion fruit hanging in his yard. Oh wow! As soon as I said it, like a scent came off. Yeah, this passion fruit came. Oh, sweet. All of a sudden, it just started smelling like it came active. That's pretty interesting how that works. But yeah, the passion fruit. He let me have it. I'm grateful for it, and I'm glad I picked it like a week before Sakut because I had it here. Didn't realize this would end up being my Sakut. I thought I would go out and do it somewhere else. I was just gonna keep it out here just till it ripens and whatever. But nonetheless, I wasn't able to find anything with fruit out there. Normally, there's some trees with oranges and lemons. I don't want to take the one from here property because it's a sober living unit, and I don't need to rock the boat. Like, why are you picking? Why are you breaking branches off the property? The house property. So I don't want to, get weird about it. So I just went out to look for them, but I didn't find none. I thought I'd find something on the way in the area, but usually there were. I don't know if they got rid of them or what, but when I used to stay out here in downtown a couple years back, there was fruit bearing trees everywhere. I don't know, it's an alternate universe reality thing, a reflection. Your surrounding is a reflection of you, kind of thing. I don't know, but manifests that way. But yeah, when I was in PB, there was a lot of fruit bearing trees out there. Like I started to see them everywhere. But anyways, here I am, and I was like, man, I messed up already because I wasn't able to pick any fruits out there. Like you're supposed to decorate that way, and then Yahuwah, lo and behold, he's like, man, you've already had it prepared. It's in you. It's been in you. But yeah, either way, you've already had it pre-picked. So I credit it to your account where you that passion fruit you picked, and then you end up end up making the masaka right here, just under the bed. Narrow is the gate. That's a narrow gate right there. Where if you find it, you know, it ain't the lavish thing. And Yahusha was born in a feeding trough, so I guess it makes me more relatable with him. I ain't tripping on that. You know, the meek show, the poor and the meek shall inherit the Arats. Anyways, but I like the home. It still glimpses like a duality, like you know, narrow gate, oppressed, but yet there's Baraka to come because I don't count this as like anything to like. Ooh, I didn't get all because I'm still waiting for the eternal one. Praise yeah, and I guess that was a test too on me. Like, see how I get. Like, nah, I'm thankful. It's nice. But I get the glimpse, I get the message. Praise, yeah. You know, who has me in a position where I'm not paying for nothing. Alright, so anyways, I wanted to address also like the first night of Sakut, with the spooky looking pictures. That's what I was talking about in the video that won't upload. Because I know people have been like wondering if I would address that, and I did 2 days ago, and it wouldn't upload. Or was that yesterday? Can't remember. I have short term memory. COVID. But short term memory loss. COVID. So anyways, yeah, that suck I made. I was basically saying that that's what the rock of. I'm so mad at video one up. No, I'm not mad. I'm rejoicing, but now I'm starting to feel it because I'm not about to explain all that. It was and we're gonna we'll design it'll upload. I just gotta be patient. I trust it'll upload. I'm just gonna leave it in y'all's hands like that. So I'm not gonna say everything, but I'm gonna just say the stuff I didn't say. But in there I did address like I see some shadowy figures in there, and then what I remember was that when I was doing it, I did have like a sense of like a little bit of fear, like it was dark and it kind of looked spooky, and so when I took the picture, you see these little shadow creatures, but they're bowing, because that's what fear energy looks like manifested, in reality through the camera where they can see it, and they're like this shadow figure thing, and really they're bound because they're begging for energy. Because I had a moment of a little fear, and then I rebuked it, and so they're like bowing down, like, no, please give us energy, like get out of here, So they're like bowing and begging for energy, for fear. That's what they eat, and then they had to leave. I rebuked it, but yeah, you're gonna see. all the things of both sides with me as a witness. I'm a witness, like the things you wonder about, um, in the spiritual realm, spirits, what goes on, and what it's like. You see it manifest with me. Those are witnesses. Those aren't just random glitches. That it's two coincidence happens to on point. And so that's because I used to wonder that. I'm like, man, what goes on with people when they're on meth? Like, what's really going on? Are they like tripping out, or is it neurological, just psychological, or is it like demonic, like spiritual, cosmic realm stuff? And he will show me, and I get to show y'all. I get to see it manifest through me. So praise yeah. And so, nonetheless, I should probably put the beanie on. I'm over here like, uh, let me get this tied down. But yeah, forgive me for that. It's distracting. But yeah, I'm trying to do a little cleaner. But it's kind of warm, even though it's fresh wind. It's like a little humid right now. So I put on a little thinner shirt. Another thing I wanted to address too was like, I don't even know if I should do this now. Shabbat. Yeah, because I mentioned I saw Coyote that night, and then I also had a dream about a puppy the other night. Then I also had a dream the other night, like right after that, a couple nights ago, a few nights ago maybe, that it was like with somebody in my past, but they kind of projected just like a nurturing malak, a ministering malak, and yeah, I was like, I just say it's my ex-wife, my first wife, and she was talking to my bond, and he was worried about his sins or whatever. Like he was just worried about his high, and of course I do trust his literal. So, but I'm like I can't reach out to him. So, but there's no way. Not they're like in another universe altogether. And so, but nonetheless, in the dream, my ex was telling him, no, because like you're fine, don't worry, because scripturally, you're not even of the age of accountability. Like she knew that. She was telling him, you know, um, scripture, like when they did the census, 20 years and up, because that's the age of accountability. And I don't know if she knows that in real high, but maybe she's been studying, learning, and they had that talk and had a dream about it. I don't know, but I've wondered about stuff like that before. When I woke up from that dream, I was like, okay, yeah, what does that mean? Because sometimes things are symbolic. It could be literal. I mean, it can most times. Sometimes it's people playing parts. And then he reminded me about all some of the dog dreams started coming up. All the dreams with the dogs and stuff. And then he just told me straight up. He's like, remember the like what I loosened in you and how you're aging. I'm like, oh yeah. So that's something I never shared before. And he's like, yeah, you're not. There's a part of you I'm using. You're not part of the age accountability because I've done some sins. I've done some things that you would think are probably not forgivable, like Manasha, right? And just experimenting, just curious and wondering, but it's no excuse. And but nonetheless, he was compassionate, but he also used a gray area for me, a loophole, and so I was saying like even my first wife used to tell me like, yeah, I think there's something wrong with you, like psychologically, like not in a mean way, just like you know. And then even my wife after that said, she used to study and know about these things. She's like, yeah, have you been through some trauma? Sometimes like that part of your mind psychologically like just stops growing, like with the personality and everything. Like part of you just like it gets stunned because it's in shock from a traumatic event, and it's all connected, like psychological, ruachal, neurological. Um, physical uh, ruach, and personality wise, you see it in a sense. And so, and I was like, yeah, I did have some traumatic experience happen when I was young. And from one that I can remember, when I was like probably about 7, I never told anyone, and I still won't. Still haven't. Not that big a deal, but it was enough for me to like, wake me up, make me aware, and be kind of traumatic. But nonetheless, you know, Scientology was even like a witness to it, like a parabolic picture in that, because they're talking about like, yeah, like if you're at like in reality, if you're trying to like do the math on reality, and I didn't get this from them, but that's mine. Like, oh yeah, the math's got to add up. Like how your perception, I see things like it's got to add up. But they do use something similar, where just like, like the way you're perceiving things seems rational, but if you're calculating things the way you're perceiving it, I guess it's kind of similar. It's like, imagine doing it with like a held down 7. Like, I don't know why they decided to use 7 as their example, but it's like you do 5 times 5, 25, right? But then like the calculator's got to push down number 7 at the same time, so it's like gonna throw that into the equation, plus 7 or times that or whatever, and so it's always gonna throw off the equation. Held down 7 or minus 7, so it's always just gonna like come out wrong. You know, and so, and ironically, that's basically like a reflection of me. Like, it was letting me know through that parable that I have a held down 7. That from when I was 7, traumatic experience, part of me, like, traumatic experience stopped developing neurological, my brain and everything. And so I just held down 7. And then Yahuwah just put all this together for me one day. I was just walking, and I was just talking to him about like, man, I done too much. I don't even know how you can forgive me, if I can forgive myself. Like, how do you forgive all this? And he's like, and I want to be a virgin, like well, I want to be 144,000, like considered like a virgin in your eyes. Like, I'm already disqualified. I can't even see myself like that as one of the elect. And then he's like, that's when he's like, you remember Scientology that held down 7? He's like, yeah. You remember that traumatic experience that happened to you when you were younger? And like, yeah. You were 7 years old. And like, okay. And he's like, that stunt you and I allowed it. So like, all your sins that you committed, I forgive, and I'm not gonna impute on you. Like, I'm gonna treat it like, I mean, he does that regardless, but for your sake and the sake of like part of you that stayed of pure, that's still virgin in a sense. I'm a release that held down 7. You were stuck. You had a part of your brain, and people would tell me, "Oh yeah, you're kind of childlike in a way, kind of like." Sometimes they would use words like immature, but or sometimes they would just say you're pretty like innocent and humble, but like almost like a child. Like, you're not like mature like a man, like a full grown man. Like, you're a man in stature, but you can tell you're kind of like childlike, innocent in a way, at the same time. And and I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then Yahuwah told me, he's like, that held down 7 is what they're sensing, and that's why kids always gravitate towards me. Like, anytime I get in a room full of kids, they just run up to me like they want to play with me. Like, they feel my ruach as one of their own. They see me as a big kid. They can see the kid right through me. Like the same reflection when I look at kids. I see myself in them, and they see themselves in me. And it's like, oh, there's a big kid. Like, you're a kid. You're one of us. Peter Pan, Neverland. Haven't grown up yet in this certain part of my mind and stuff, and that manifests physically too in certain ways too. And so yeah, I had this held down 7, and Yahusha's like, yeah, so I'm apply. I forgive our sins, and now I'm gonna activate that 7-year-old part of you, and it's gonna start growing, and catching up, and I'm gonna treat you like you're 7 years old again, and you're a virgin. And I'm like, what? And this was on. I won't forget it because I don't remember a lot of things, and this thing's the one thing I haven't forgotten. He reminds me. He reminds me himself, and it was June 8th. That was the date that he's like, starting today, you're born again from this 7 year old mind frame. I'm like 7. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm like 7, that's going to take me forever to grow up, like to grow up. And he's like, no, um, I'm going to do a new thing. Like, you know, I'm going to speed it up. And he said, I'm going to age you like a dog. Like, he said like a year times 7, like, 7's a scriptural number, but I was like, huh? Like 7 times. You're gonna age a year. You're gonna age 7 times in a year. It's kind of like how he was telling me, like 7 times in a year, and I was like a dog, and he's like, yeah, basically. And I was like, all right, so like, how do I calculate that? And he's like, do the math, and he told me this is how, like, it was the witness. He's like, divide 365 um days into 7 parts, you know, and and yeah, it'll fit perfectly. I didn't know that. Like, you can divide it like in 7 parts, like have 7 months and fit 365 evenly. There's a way, like, you know what I mean. And what's ironic about it, it's almost like reverse engineering, because he's like, I think the way he told me, because he told me all this before I even calculated. I was imagining this stuff. I remember where I was walking and everything, so intimate. I was in PB, walking right there by the 7-Eleven on Garnet, and I was on Garnet and yep, and Faneuil, Faneuil Street, and that means the face of God, to be in before the face of God, and that's when he started speaking to me, and he said, first he's like, I'm gonna speed up your aging. It's gonna. I'm a. I'm a. How do you say it? Do it quick. Like, I'm a fast track it 7 times a year. And I was like age 7 years per year, like a dog. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, how many times? Like, when is my my, not my birthday, but yeah, like, when are those parts visited, like, to fit, to complete a year 7 times, like a dog year in a year. And then he just told me straight up, this is what he told me. He said how many weeks are in a year? And I said 52. And he said, so there are also 52 day parts for each one of the 7 parts. Kid you not, that blew my mind. I had that one of those, had that thing I had that I hadn't had in years, so I know it's true. Like when he told me about um the tribe of Levi and Simeon was Asia, and he said, look in Joshua, count out how many allotments they got. They weren't giving their own portion of land. He was telling me all this, and I was like, and I counted, and I said, okay, they were given 48 cities throughout the 12 tribes. And he said, now look up how many countries Asia's made out of. It's like I already knew when he said it. It wasn't like he was telling me look it up. He was telling me Asia's also got 48, but it was like convenient, like look it up. Like look up how many countries Asia's made of. And I looked up and it was 48, just like the tribe of Levi. And I was like, whoa. I had chills and the goosebumps, and my stomach was turning, and the rock was burning in me, and I was like getting dizzy and excited all at once. I was like, what's going on? Like, you're like, it's like you're seeing, like if somebody would say they saw a ghost or something appear out of thin air in front of them, but you're just getting revelation out of thin air that you're not thinking, you're not logically like trying to think this up. It's just coming to you like someone is speaking to you and you're about to faint because how awesome it is, like how overwhelming that the creator universe is telling you and what he's telling you. Your hand's trembling to check out because you know it's gonna check out. So the tribe of Levi checked out and I was like trembling and it's like wind was blowing in my window and I bowed down. I couldn't even like look at him, like look like pick my head up. You know, I was just stuck on the ground for a minute, for hours, just fell asleep after that one. And that's kind of how I felt with this one. And I'll never bring up any other moments like that again from those two because those are the only two that were real like that. So I know I'm not lying because I remember them like they're the only two memories that I have that I can distinctively that are recorded where I was, what I felt, smelling, what I heard, and it was eternal. And and this one has to do with me, so I thought that was cool. So I know it's real. And and yeah, he told me look up how many, just like Levi said, look up how many countries make up. I want to cry because he used like the same pattern to speak to me again, so I knew I could trust him. And it was the same way. He's like, look up how many countries make up Asia, and he's like, it's gonna be this. The math is gonna add up. It's gonna check out. So he spoke to me that way. He said, how many weeks are in a year? And I said 52. And he said, look up how many. He said that's he just told me straight. That's the answer. He's like, how many? He's like, he's basically letting me know it's all connected. You know, he's like, how many weeks are in a year? I was like 52. He's like, that's how many days break up 7 parts in a year. And like what? And then I didn't know. I'm not like I'm just there. And I'm like, no. I just had that moment like, no, like this is for real. Like it was like a certain thought, like an absolute truth thought, like 2 plus 2 plus 4. It's like you just know it when you hear it, like, yeah. And like I gotta check, I gotta do the math, I gotta count it up myself. I literally had to like bust everything out. Like that's how I know and I wasn't making this up. I had to go and do the math. How many times 265 divides by 7 and it's 52. It's like, whoa, so it's 52 days times 7 is 365. And so they all ripple. They're a ripple within a ripple because you can 365 divided by 52 or 52 yeah parts put in what 7 days or how does that work? See, because if you ain't told me, I don't know. 365 divided by 52 goes 7 weeks, right? 7 day weeks or something like that. No, no, no. You know what I'm saying? That's because that's not what we're talking about. But this was this, you know. So I did 365 divided by 52 days, and I got 7. Yeah, yeah. Because if you divide it by 7, you get 52 weeks. But that's different. Those are weeks. You know, 52 weeks. If you divide it by 52, I'm sorry. If you divide it by 7, yeah, you get 52 weeks. If you divide it by no 52 days. There's 52 weeks in a year, but they're also broken down in 50. You can also break them down in 52-day parts 7 times. I don't know, it's beyond me. That's how I know it's yeah. I just know I did the math and it worked out. And then, so then I counted it. I actually had to manually count a calculator recently too, just to after he woke me up and reminded me about that. June, he said June 8th. This is your born day from that 7-year-old part of you. So I would calculate June 8th, following month was what, June, July, 8th, and that would have been 30 days. So then you go 8, 18, 28, and that's 50 days, and then 28, and I think there's a 29 somewhere, but 29th, and then it would have been 52 on the 29th or 30th or something like that. Right at the end, going into August. and then so on. And I marked them, I saved them my screenshot, and ironically, just because it adds up, like where one of them add up is, Jan- uh, you know, that month, the first, like on New Year's, like that's one of my born day anniversary, and I think he did it that way so I don't forget. Because if you give me a bunch of random numbers, I'm not gonna remember. I'm not gonna really keep track. So he made it line up or with numbers I can remember. He did it the right. June 8th, I'm not gonna forget. I don't know why. That's just the day he spoke to me, so it's there forever. But it's printed in my mind. And then sometimes I forget how old I am. But I won't forget June 8th. And then so yeah, the rest I count manually, and I know January 1st is one. Here's the interesting thing about it though. When I get back to June 8th, when I count, it always stops at one day short. So I'm like tripping out because I'm like, oh shoot, there is 364 days in the year. What the heck is going on? Is the way that is what that would mean, or no? Because that 52 count the same 365. Maybe I keep missing one when I calculate like count it manually, or when they do the February date thing. Something's like messing up, so I'm always falling a day short. But it's like right there, pretty much in a calculator, it adds up 365. But I maybe miscount one, but I end up right back at June 7th, but June 8th. But I think I miscounted something. I only did 2 times, and I was like, it's close enough to just keep with it. But I'm gonna go back and do it again just because I want to be sure, like, what's really going on. Because now I'm thinking, like, oh, maybe there is 364. They're just telling us it's 365. No one's actually counting it. But if you actually manually count all the days and see the number play they're doing, like, there's a word play, there's number play. Maybe when they move that February number somewhere, there's doing something and it's making it look like it's adding up, but it ain't. They're shifting numbers around a little bit. But yeah, Booker Knox right. It's 364, I believe. Now that I counted, but I'm gonna go back. Nonetheless, by the end of the year, on January, I'm gonna be 11. 11? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 4, 4. Yeah, those are 4 7 parts. 52 days, 7 parts. Which is, or that is basically like a month and a half. Um, yeah, it's a month, 30 days, 2 weeks. That's 10, 10. That's 52. So it's a pretty much a month, roughly a month and a half. Every month and a half is a born yom kind of thing, and yeah, 7 parts per exactly, and yeah. So on the Jan 1st or whatever, that day, it would have been the recent one was okay. June 8th it started, and then July 30th or whatever, yeah, around there, 29th to 30th was like the first was 9, and then you have another one 10, like August 10th, October, and then by January, that actual day of the first of the year, that's the constant reminder. Can't forget that date. I always have one, and I'll be 11 in that one. So right now, I'm only, and that's dynamic that he's crediting to my virginity, my purity, like he activated. So I'm a virgin. He's using that part of my. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to explain? Like he's accrediting my purity, my virginity part to that part that never grew up. So as I'm like aged, it's been like hidden, dormant after trauma, and it's like finally waking up and living through me and growing. And so that part of me, right now, I think is what I already had 1 9. So I think I'm about to be 10 pretty soon in that part. So I'm only, man, 7. I was 7 for a long time. 8, 9. Yeah, I'm about to be 9, barely, and then, or 10, something like that. I'm still little in that sense. And then after this Going into the spring, I'll have one like every Pesach, also on around Pesach, like April 15th or something like that. It's usually around Pesach, so that will be the next one. That'll be like 12 or 13, and every before I know it, it'll be all right. I think by the next Pesach, and just that year, after a year, it's just for one, like 2 years or something like that. This year until the next one, next Pesach, I think I'll be 20 or 18 or 20. Yeah, or nine. Yeah, 20. I'll turn 20 at the next Pesach. Not this one coming, but the next one. So then I'll be at the age of accountability, and that'll be Pesach 2027. Because we're about to go on 26, not this one, but the next one. And that's crazy because it sounds like, oh, you got rooms to make shenanigans. Well, when you're raising Torah, like I'm like a 7 or 8 year old, 9 year old boy that's raised in Torah, like literally born again. So it's like giving you a new spin on born again, like in a way that's where it's supposed to actually kind of almost be literal, like you're supposed to relearn like you're a kid. And so I'm a physical, parabolic manifestation of that in a literal sense, you know. And so it's like going to school, learning this, and like living it as a child and growing up, and like so no, you don't treat it like, oh, I'm still a kid, I can get away with stuff, because as a kid, when you're growing, like you should have this mind too, like this. I think as a child, there's supposed to be a part of you that's supposed to think like an adult too. Like when you're a kid, I think that's what he was showing me. You're supposed to already be mature like a man too, just like a little man. You know, they're already teaching you Torah. They're already teaching you like all kinds of like serious things. You're serious, you know. And so I have both those dynamics connected together. And so yeah, the mindset isn't like, oh, what can I get away with for a couple years for age accountability? No, because by then I won't be ready, you know, because it's what do I need to work on, you know, to be perfect by then, so I don't mess up by then, because then it matters. It's almost like here in the states has that parable, you know, when you're under 18, it's like a slap on the wrist. Once you're over 18, any little thing you do is gonna have repercussions, like big lawful repercussions. You get actually in trouble for it, you know. You go to jail for it. When you're a kid, you might not, you know. They kind of so age accountability is like that, and with your sins, you mess up, you're gonna have some bigger punishments afterwards, bigger repercussions, you know. And so I think that's why what I mean get away with a lot. I've been through a lot of little things we all have, you know, but mine was more. It just was fixed, ordered, structured a certain way by Yah, anyways. This way to the appointed time, and I trust it because the math adds up. The math's got to add up. I always say that about reality, like it's got to check out. It's got to be like, oh, that's logical, but literally the math adds up. So I trust it because it wasn't like no demonic thing. It's not telling me anything deceiving. It's like, yeah, don't feel bad, like for your sake, so you feel like, you know, because there's some things in me too that, you know, that I can sense that are like, you know, but praise Yah, it's growing now, it's maturing, and it's like, wow, I'm growing again. So praise Yah, everything is growing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll see if this hairline comes back. Start anti-aging, literally start getting younger. Like, what the heck? That'd be cool. Benjamin Button, just down to the what do you call it? The dew of my youth. That'd be cool. Fulfillment of the book of Yobalim, I believe that, where it says, in that day the children of Yah shall seek the Torah, and they shall begin to, um, you know, um, age like the forefathers, so they'll begin to age again, live long high, like 200, 300, 400 years. Again, like the forefathers, like meaning we might just keep on going into the millennial year reign and staying like this, in other words. And yeah, the millennial reign will bring that shift, but it's almost like because we're already walking in it too, like it's restoring as we're doing it, like it's like a perfect domino effect that everything just add up just at the right time kind of thing, one of those things. And so praise yeah for that. And so yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So it's cool to know. That's why all that to say, that's why the dreams, the dogs and the coyotes, he was trying to stir back to my mind. And then dreams of like kid, like my bond and my ex-wife telling him, you're not, don't worry about it, you're not at the age of accountability yet. And then I woke up like, what's that about? And he's like, it's you. And like, what? And then he had to remind me because I completely forgot. And he's like, June 8th. And like, oh yeah. He's like, you gotta track that because that's where I'm crediting your virginity to be the 144,000 also. And the math checked out. So I'm like, okay, it's crazy. Yeah. And I don't think I'm the only one. I think I'm just like one of the only ones on Facebook. And I think all the other real ones are already in mountains and caves and living off the land, just like real, like stoic and fearless and solid and like the real thing, like Aliyahu. Probably I don't know. I'm like that little rhino that's at the end of a stampede, and when it's like lagging, 20 feet behind everybody else, kind of thing, or way behind. But nonetheless, we was using to be a witness to the world, so it works out, you know. So praise, yeah. That I just wanted to share, and yeah. What else about it? I guess just to help me keep track, so when I go back, I'll be like, oh yeah, because I might forget, because it's kind of like a diary to me. So, anyways, that being said, let us begin. Let's see. We shall now begin the first part of the Natsarym Shabat reading with the command to love Yahuwah, Adonai Eloheinu with all our mind, love, with all our yatzad, love, nafash, and kabar, and to have our neighbor as ourselves. Hallelujah, YAHUWAH, YAHUSHA. Hallelujah. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to say too is that yeah, on the read I was doing a Sakut read. It's pretty much the same thing as a Sabbath read. I just brought up the things that I usually don't stay on the Sabbath read. I haven't that I left out that I used to say all the time because they're more personalized to that more millennial year reign dynamic versus the rest. They're the same. They're connected, but Sabbath read I do more of the rest things just to talk about the rest. But one that I forgot, um, for the sake of going back on it, for like keeping up, um, is when I was talking about the 7 women cling to one man. And they say we provide our own bread and our own clothes. Only let us be called by our name to take away our reproach. Um, so I was like, yeah, they're gonna provide, they're gonna have provisions for us. Like, so they're in those positions where they chose their brutes or they chose their own way. They're independent guy. They were like the OnlyFans type models did that because it talks about their whoring, but then like they're humbled and they're spared some, and the Gentiles raise up the children, and that's I think part of 7 women clinging to one man too. Because this is what it says here. This is Yeshayahu 23. At the end of it, it says verse 17. It says, and at the end of 70 years, it shall be that Yahuwah visits Sur and shall return to her hire and commit whoring with all the reigns of the earth on the face of the land. So who does it say does that? It says Babylon the Great does that. So don't worry, like we talked about earlier, names and when like when it's describing names and animals is more just like it's almost irrelevant. It's like what you're really having to pull from it is the identifying markers of how it's describing the nation, because then when it describes another nation, it'll end up describing it the same way as the other one because it wants us to connect like it's the same spirit of that other nation, you know? It's like people are like, oh, that person's possessed with the spirit of Jezebel, it's a Jezebel spirit. Okay, well, this person's name is, Melanie or something. I'm trying to make up a name that someone I don't know, so no one feels like I'm talking. Like, oh, this is Melanie. It says like Melanie. Like Jezebel. She tries to just, um, manipulate the man and woo him with her eyelids, like her promiscuity, like her appeal to get him all, so she can manipulate him, control him by that. And she rolls over him and tells him what to do, low key and whatnot. And then it's like, you mean Melody? And it's like, oh, Melanie, she's just using that man, controlling him, using sexual appeal to, you know, like get him weak so she can manipulate and he'll do anything she says. So it's like, whoa, that's describing like Jezebel. And so it's like, oh, it's the same spirit, like it's operating the same way. That's easy to understand, and that's what the scriptures does. It'll say like sword, you did it, but it's like, wait, that's describing like Babylon or describing this or that. It's because it's describing that entity the same way, because it's like saying that it's the same spirit revived in that nation and whatnot. So like whatever it says about that nation, like if today we have a dynamic going on that's describing something from what's written in the word, then yeah, you take it like it's about them. It's giving you a blueprint of how that's gonna play out, of like what's going on with that. So that's all that to say that like once you do that, it's easy to understand. So at the end of 70 years, it shall be that Yahuwah visits Sur, and she shall return to her hire and commit whoring with all the reigns of the earth on the face of the land. That's exactly what it says about Babylon in Revelation, and it's the worldwide system and false, religion and all that. And it says, and her dub and her hire shall be Kadash for Yahuwah, not treasured nor laid up. For her gain is for those who dwell before Yahuwah to eat sufficiently and for a choice covering. You hear that? So it says, Sud shall return to her hire, commit whoring with all the reigns of the earth and face of the land. So it's like religious systems like, Catholicism, commit whoring with all the world when they, you know, do a part of their festivities, because that's what even in um, Hosea chapter 3, Yahuwah describes Yasharal, as a whore because they're whoring with the land. They're doing the way of the nations. They do what they do. It's like considered spiritual fornication, spiritual adultery, whoring, spiritual whoring. When you do what they do, it's like you're whoring with another higher power. It's like this idea that customs and traditions aren't just, imaginative. It's not just conjured up by one's own imagination. It's this idea that every thought you have is inspired by some type of spirit, some higher power that's trying to mold you in its image. And so when you do the way of the nations, their customs, it's like those are already established traditions and customs of a hierarchy of other spirits and powers, and that's the way they become one through those rituals, like they're uniting in spirit. So it's like a spiritual oneness, like um that's their way. That's like how, like almost like sex with spirits in a way, just by oneness to that. And so that's what Yahuwah is like. Israel, you're a whore to me because you worship, you do the practices of the nations, that how they worship their mighty ones. And to Yahuwah, like we don't understand it, but in the spiritual sense, that's kind of what that's like, spiritually cheating, because it's like when you have that same spiritual euphoria and excitement and lust about a girl, but to do something fun and festive in the world, you know, the traditions or whatever. So it's the same thing. And so all that to say nonetheless that you know, that's what Catholicism with a lot of the, mainstream I don't even know what to call it, paganism with the JC believers, because I don't want to say all those pagan terms, but they you call it mainstream paganism with the Bible, with the Bible twist on it. They basically, it's an orgy. They're all, it's all whoredom. That's why they have a pantheon of different deities, because they worship different spirits, different deities, different powers. That's why Catholicism has all those traditions that come from other higher powers. That's all an orgy house of all traditions. They're all doing each other's positions and whatnot spiritually. The manifestation of the traditional practices and celebrations. That's what it is to those spirits. And so plus they mix it with the word and throw that. So when you do a tree on December 25th, an egg and bunny day, you put a little ash on your head, T for Tammuz. That's not biblical, scriptural. They say Ash Wednesday, the mint thing. That's not for Yahusha. That's T. It's the same T in Hebrew of Bari that they had in ancient times. That was to worship Tammuz, to weep for him for 40 years. That's why it was ash. Because ash is what you put on your head when someone dies. Why would that be to remember Yahusha in the wilderness? He didn't die. So what does ash have to do on your head? You put ash on your head for mourning for the dead. They put a T in ash for Tammuz. That's what because Tammuz was 40. And he's not a mighty one. He's a man on the earth, but they reverenced him like a mighty one. You know, he was the first like nope. He's the one that made sun worship big on the first Yom, and that's Babylon the Great. It's T for Tammuz. That's why they have it in Catholicism. He's the one that introduced like made December 25th worship big. All that's from Tammuz, and they do that in the egg day and all that. You shouldn't do it. It's whoredom. Come out of my people. But nonetheless, on the individual level, you know, just whoredom in general, when like women are, you know, selling themselves or just getting with men for security, and it's not real love. They're just using them. It's whoredom too. Um, and then like those independent ones, like strippers or prostitutes or what do they call them, only fans type models, you know, and that's all that too. And so this is what that's talking about too. And so it says, and she shall return to her hire and commit whoring with all the reigns of the earth on the face of the land. And even women on the individual level can commit whoring with all the reigns on the earth on the face of the land through the internet. Through the internet, they're whoring with all the reigns, all the nations of the world can see World Wide Web. They can see her on her camera. Do it in China, do it in Mexico, do it in Venezuela, do it in Africa, you name it, Germany. They can all watch her all at one time on a cam show. Commit whoring with the reins of the earth and on the face of the land. But it says her dub, her wages, and her hire, her earnings, shall be kadash, or even separated, shall be taken away, dedicated, and separated, and kadash for Yahuwah has all those synonymous meanings: to be dedicated, separated, and for Yahuwah, kadash for Yahuwah, not treasured up nor laid up. It won't be for her to lay up and treasure up. For her gain shall be for those who dwell before Yahuwah, to eat sufficiently and for a choice covering. So in other words, she's gonna become rich, wealthy, and Yahuwah's gonna come back. And Isaiah 4, we'll provide bread and clothes. We'll provide our own bread, our own clothes. We even got you. We got provisions for only let us be called by your name. Spare us. We can offer the womb and raise up eternal righteous seed to you. We can help you build a nation. We'll offer ourselves up. You know, that's what it's going to be. And that's what it says. It says, her earnings, her dub and her higher earnings shall be kadash for Yahuwah, not treasured up nor laid up. It won't be for her, like laid up, saved up for her. For her gain is for those who dwell before Yahuwah. So it's going to be handed over to those who dwell before Yahuwah to eat sufficiently and for a choice covering. So it's a covering for us. So it's really a partnership. It's like a win-win situation because they're gonna cover us with their provision, the bread and the clothes and the car and the home. They're gonna hand us the keys if we need it. Because we're gonna be meek and we don't really care about all this. Like this is a glimpse. You know, but really it's just okay, cool, something. Something to eat, something somewhere to lay. So I need to go somewhere. Well, you guys something I can drive? Oh, Mercedes? Okay, cool, whatever. But that's Yahuwah. He's like, I got the best of the best for you, but you're not gonna even trip on it. Like you're not getting all crazy about it, but it's still the best quality because that's how I like it like that. Like he wants to where we can handle it. Like it ain't nothing to rock the best. Instead of like making a thing of it, we're just thankful to have it. We're just thankful to be able to get to where we gotta go. And her tools and her hire shall be Kadash for Yahuwah, not treasure nor laid up, for her gain is for those who dwell before Yahuwah, to eat sufficiently and for a choice covering. And then we're also the covering for them. Where it says that Yashayahu Isaiah 32, and a ruler shall uh, reign, a sovereign shall reign, and rulers rule with righteousness. So that's how they're covering for us financially, right? That's what it just said. That their gains is to be laid up for those who dwell before Yahuwah. And also, likewise, this is our covering for them. So that's how we scratch each other's back. Yashayahu, Isaiah 32. See, sovereign shall reign in righteousness, and rulers rule with him in right ruling, and each one shall be as a hiding place. So, a sovereign shall reign in righteousness, as YAHUSHA shall reign in righteousness, and rulers rule. Those are the Kodash, the righteous elect, rule with him in right ruling, and each one of those rulers who rule with him shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a shelter. They shall be as a shelter from the downpour, from destruction, from any kind of plague or negative thing happen in the world. They shall be as rivers of Ma'im, the Ruach, springing forth rivers of Ma'im of everlasting Chai unto the Shamaim. Through us springs forth Ma'im of Chai, just like Yahusha. And so we shall be as rivers of Ma'im in a dry place where there's no word, no Ruach, no truth. As a shadow, we shall be as a shadow of a great rock in a hot, weary land. So we shall be shade. We should be comfortable. We shall be pleasant, like a pleasantness, a safeguard and a protection and security. From protection from pandemics and judgments and destruction and plagues and what's that other word? Pestilence and all that. All right. So I just wanted to cover that. So now let us begin with the command to Ahava Yahuwah, Elohim with all our mind, life, being, and strength, and to Ahava our neighbor as ourselves. Praise Yah. I do this tomorrow because I'm getting already tired. I'm getting tired lately. It's getting late, and that was cool just to do the open mic talk. We'll go halfway through. It's not too late. I'm just getting a little tired. That's all. That's just me. I just need to tough through the flesh. Matatyahu, Matthew chapter 22. I used to get that when I was going through puberty, going growth spurs. I used to get tired all the time. When you're a teenager, your body's trying to grow. It's like you always want to like take naps. You want to go right after school and so you can grow. And I made that mistake. I was always trying to stay up awake. Maybe I didn't let my body grow. Even then, like it should have or something. I don't know. I didn't know. I just didn't want to be lazy, so I just kept on running around. Matatyahu, Matthew chapter 22, verse 34. But the Parashim, having heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, were gathered together, and one of them, one learned in the Torah, questioned, trying him, and saying, Rabbi, Rab, teacher, what is the great command in the Torah? And Yahusha said to him, you shall Yahuwah your Elohim with all your love and with all your nafash and with all your yatsar, your mind. This is the first and great command, and the second is like it. You shall wahaba your neighbor as yourself. On these two commands hang all the Torah and the Nabim. Marcos chapter 12, verse 28. And one of the scribes coming near, hearing them reasoning together, knowing that he had answered them well, asked him, who or what is the first command of all? And YAHUSHA answered him, the first of all the commands is, Hear, O Yasharal, YAHUAH Aralahim, Alahainu, YAHUAH Achad is the one, that's right. And you shall wahaba YAHUAH, your Alahim, with all your lab, and with all your nafash, and with all your yatsar, and with all your gabar, your strength. This is the first command, and the second like it is this: you shall wahaba your neighbor as yourself. There is no other command greater than these. And the scribe said to him, well said, teacher, Rabbi, you have spoken the truth. For there is one Elohim, and there is no other besides him. And to ahaba him with all the lab, and with all the understanding, and with all the nafash, and with all the gabar, and to ahaba one's neighbor as oneself, is more than all the burnt offerings and slaughter offerings. And when Yahusha saw that he answered wisely, he said to him, you are not far from the reign of Elohim. And after that, no one dared to question him. Tavarim, Deuteronomy. Start from 4. I like doing that now, starting from 4. 4, 4:15, or 4:14. And Yahuwah commanded me at that time to teach you laws and right rulings, for you to do them in the land that you pass over to possess. Therefore diligently guard yourselves, for you saw no form when Yahuwah spoke to you at Horab out of the midst of the fire, lest you should do corruptly, and shall make for yourselves a carved image in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female. So he don't even want you to make an image of him. The likeness of any beast that is on the arats, or the likeness of any winged bird that flies in the shamayim, the likeness of any creature that creeps on the ground, or the likeness of any fish that is in the mayim under the arats, unless you lift up your eyes to the shamayim, and shall see the sun and the moon and the kukabim, all the multitude of the shamayim, and you bow down, you be drawn away into bowing down to them and serving them, that Yahuwah your Elohim has allotted to all the peoples under all the Shamayim. But Yahuwah has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Natsarym, to be his people, an inheritance as it is this Yom. And Yahuwah was enraged with me because of your words, and swore that I would not pass over the Yardan, and that I would not enter the Tub land that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. For I am to die in this land, I am not passing over the Yardan, but you are passing over and shall possess the Tub land. Guard yourselves lest you forget the covenant of Yahuwah your Elohim, that he made with you, and shall make for yourselves a carved image in any likeness Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded you. For Yahuwah your Elohim is a consuming fire, a jealousy. Guard yourselves lest you forget the covenant of Yahuwah your Elohim that he has made with you, and shall make for yourself a carved image in any likeness Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded you. For Yahuwah your Elohim is a consuming fire and a jealous Al. When you bring forth children and grandchildren, and shall grow old in the land, and shall do corruptly, and make a carved image in any likeness, and shall do what is evil in the eyes of Yahuwah your Elohim to provoke him, I shall call the Shamaim and the Arats to witness against you on that Yom, that you soon completely perish from the land that you pass over the Yardan to possess. You do not prolong your Yomim in it, but are completely destroyed. That in context hasn't even happened because we're still blindly enslaved and in a majestic prison in the ways of Egypt and Babylon. So we haven't even been given an opportunity to actually do this fully. Now's the time to see who wants to be a part of it, who wants to train for the Olympics. And Yahuwah shall scatter you among the peoples, and you shall be left few in number among the Goyim, the Gentiles, where Yahuwah drives you. So we're few in number. And there you shall serve mighty ones, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, that neither see nor hear, nor eat or smell. That doesn't apply to us no more. But from there you shall seek Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall find when you search for him with all your love and with all your being. In your distress, when all these words shall come upon you in the latter days, then you shall return to Yahuwah, that's now, your Elohim, and shall obey his voice. For Yahuwah your Elohim is a compassionate Al. He does not forsake you, nor destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your Abim that he swore to them. For ask now of the Yomim that are past, who were before you, since the Yom that Elohim created man on the Arats, and asked from one end of the Shamaim to the other end of the Shamaim, whether there has been a word as great as this, or has been heard like it. Has a people heard the voice of Elohim speaking out of the midst of the fire as you have heard and live? Or has Elohim tried to go and take for himself a nation from the midst of a nation by trials and by signs and by wonders and by battle and by a strong hand and an outstretched arm and by great fearsome deeds according to all that Yahuwah your Elohim did for you in Natsarym before your eyes? You have been shown it to you that Yahuwah himself is Elohim. There is no one besides him. From the Shamayim he let you hear his voice to instruct you, and on Arats he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he ahava your Abim, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought you out of Mitzrayim with his presence, with his great power, to drive from before you nations greater and stronger than you, to bring you in, to give you their land as an inheritance, as it is this Yom. And you shall know this Yom, and shall recall to your lab that Yahuwah himself is Elohim in the Shamayim, above and on Arats beneath, there is none else. And you shall guard his laws and his commands that I command you this Yom, so that it is well with you and with your children after you, and so that you prolong your Yomim on the land that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you for all time. Then Masha separated 3 cities. Alright, we can go with that another time. Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 5. And Masha called all Yasharal and said to them, Hear, O Yasharal, Shema Yasharal, the laws and right rulings that I speak in your hearing this Yom, and you shall learn them and guard to do them. Yahuwah, your our Elohim, made a covenant with us in Horab. Yahuwah did not make this covenant with Arabim, but with us, those who are here this Yom, all of us who are alive. Yahuwah spoke with you face to face on the mountain from the midst of the fire. I stood between Yahuwah and you at that time to declare to you the word of Yahuwah. For you were afraid because of the fire, and you did not go up the mountain, him saying, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Natsarym, out of the house of bondage. You have no other mighty ones against my face. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Natsarym, out of the house of bondage. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of what is in the Shamayim above, or what is in the Arats beneath, or what is in the Ma'im under the Arats. You do not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your Elohim, am a jealous Al, visiting the wickedness of the Abim upon the children to the third and fourth generations to those who hate me, but showing kindness, steadfast, loving, committed kindness to thousands, to those who ahaba me and guard my commandments, those who ahaba him and keep his commandments. Love Yahuwah with all your mind. Ahaba Yahuwah with all your mind being his strength means to ahaba him and guard his commandments. You do not bring the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, to naught, to nothing. For Yahuwah does not leave him unpunished who brings his name to nothing, to naught. Guard the Shabbat Yom to Kadash it, as Yahuwah your Elohim commanded you. 6 Yomim you labor and shall do all your work, but the seventh Yom is a Shabbat of Yahuwah your Elohim. You do not do any work, you nor your bond, nor your daughter, your bat, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, so that your male servant and your female servant rest as you do. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah, your Elohim, brought you out from there by a strong hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore, Yahuwah, your Elohim, commanded you to perform the Shabbat Yom. Respect your Abba and your Amma, as Yahuwah, your Elohim, has commanded you, so that your Yomim are prolonged, and so that it is well with you on the land that Yahuwah, your Elohim, is giving you. You do not murder. You do not commit adultery. You do not steal. You do not bear false witness against your neighbor. You do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor do you desire your neighbor's house, his field, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. These words Yahuwah spoke to all your congregation in the mountain from the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the dense cloud, with a loud voice, and he added no more. And he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone, and gave them to me. And it came to be when you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was burning with fire, that you came near to me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders, and said, See, Yahuwah, our Elohim, has shown us his esteem and his greatness, and we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. This Yom we have seen that Elohim speaks with man, and he lives. Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 6. And this is the command and the laws. 28, 5:28. And Yahuwah heard the voice of your words when you spoke to me. And Yahuwah said to me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people that they had spoken to you. They have done well in all that they have spoken. Oh, that they had such a lot in them to revere me and to guard all my commands always, so that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Lord, go say to them, return to your tents. But you stand here by me and let me speak to you all the commands and the laws and the right rulings that you are to teach them, and they shall do them in the land that I am giving them to possess. And you shall guard to do as Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded you. Do not turn aside to the right or to the left. Walk in all the way that Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded you, so that you live and it be well with you, and you shall prolong your Yomim in the land that you possess. Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 6. And this is the command, the Torah, the laws, and right rulings that Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded to teach you to do in the land that you are passing over to possess, so that you revere Yahuwah your Elohim, to guard all his laws and his commands that I command you, and your bond and your grandbond, all the yomim of your high, and that your yomim be prolonged. And you shall hear, O Yasharal, and shall guard to do, that it might be well with you, and that you increase greatly as Yahuwah, Elohim of your Abim, has spoken to you, a land flowing with milk and honey. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah, Eloheinu, Yahuwah, Achad. And you shall have a Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your love, and with all your nafash, and with all your gabar. And these words that I am commanding you this yom shall be in your love, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak on them of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your Elohim brings you into the land of where he swore to your Abim, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Jacob, to give you great and tub cities that you did not build, and houses filled with all kinds of tub things, tubes that you did not fill, and wells dug that you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. And you shall eat and be satisfied. Be on guard, lest you forget Yahuwah, who brought you out of the land of Natsarym from the house of bondage. Revere Yahuwah, your Elohim, and serve him, and swear by his name. Do not go after other mighty ones, the mighty ones of the peoples who are all around you. For Yahuwah, your Elohim, is a jealous Al in your midst, lest the displeasure of Yahuwah, your Elohim, burn against you. Then he shall destroy you from the face of the Arats on the day of judgment. Do not try Yahuwah, your Elohim, as you tried him in Massah. Diligently guard the commands of Yahuwah, your Elohim, and his witnesses, and his laws that he has commanded you. And you shall do what is right and true in the eyes of Yahuwah, that it might be well with you. And you shall go in and possess the true land of where Yahuwah swore to your Abim, to drive out all your enemies from before you, as Yahuwah has spoken. When your bond asks you in time to come, saying, what is the meaning of the witnesses and the laws and the right rulings that Yahuwah, our Elohim, has commanded you? Then you shall say to your bond, we were slaves of Pharaoh in Mitzrayim, and Yahuwah brought us out of Mitzrayim with a strong hand. And Yahuwah sent signs and wonders great and grievous upon Mitzrayim, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from there to bring us in, to give us the land of where he swore to our Abim. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these laws, to revere Yahuwah, our Elohim, for our tub always, to keep us alive as it is this yom. And it is righteousness for us when we guard to do all this command before Yahuwah, our Elohim, as he has commanded us. Praise Yah. Hallelujah, Yahusha. Shamut, Exodus chapter 20. Shamut, Exodus 23. Do not bring a false report. Do not put your hand with the wicked to be a malicious witness. Do not follow a crowd to do evil, nor bear witness in a strife, as to turn aside after multitudes to pervert right ruling. And do not favor a poor man in his strife simply because he is poor. When you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall certainly return it to him. When you see the donkey of him who hates you lying under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall certainly help him. Do not turn aside the right ruling of your poor in his strife. Keep yourself far from a false matter. and do not kill the innocent and the righteous, for I do not declare the wicked right. And do not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the seen one, and twists the words of the righteous. And do not oppress a sojourner, as you yourselves know the height of a sojourner, because you were sojourners in the land of Natsarym. And for 6 years, Shanim, you are to sow your land, and shall gather its increase. But the 7th year you are to let it rest, and shall leave it, and the poor of your people shall eat. And what they leave, the beasts of the field eat. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive yard. 6 Yomim you are to do your work, and on the 7th Yom you rest, in order that your ox and your donkey might rest, and the bond of your female servant and the sojourner be refreshed. And in all that I have said to you, take heed, and make no mention of the names of other false mighty ones. Let it not be heard from your mouth. These 3 times in the year you are to celebrate a Chag Mu'at to me. Guard the Chag Mu'at of Matzaot. 7 Yomim you eat unleavened bread, Matzaot, as I commanded you, at the time appointed in the month of Abib, at the time of the Pasach. For in it you came out of Natsarym, and do not appear before me empty-handed. And the Chag Moad of the harvest, the first fruits of the wheat of your labors, at the time of Shabuaut, that you have sown in the field. And lastly, at the festival of the ingathering, Asaph, at the outgoing of the year, during the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. These 3 times in the year all your males are to appear before the Adon YAHUAH. Do not offer the blood of my slaughtering with leavened bread, and the fat of my festival, my Chag Moad, shall not remain until Bakar. Bring the first of the first fruits of your land into the house of YAHUAH, your Elohim. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. See, I am sending a malach before you, to guard you in the way and to bring you into the place that I have prepared. Be on guard before him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he is not going to pardon your transgression. For my name, my power and authority is in him. But if you diligently obey his voice, and shall do all that I speak, then I shall be an enemy to your enemies, and a distresser to those who distress you. For my malach shall go before you, and shall bring you into the Amorim, the Chatim, and the Parazim, and the Cananim, and the Chawim, and the Yabusim, and I shall cut them off. Do not bow down to their mighty ones, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but without fail overthrow them, and without fail break down their pillars. And you shall serve YAHUAH, your Elohim, and he shall barak your bread, favor your bread, increase it, and your ma'im, and I shall remove sickness from your midst. None shall miscarry or be barren in your land. I shall fill the number of your yamim. I shall send my fear before you, and cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I shall send hornets before you, that shall drive out the Chawim, the Cananim, and the Chatim from before you. I shall not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become a waste, and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little I shall drive them out from before you, until you have increased, and you inherit the land. And I shall point your borders from the Sea of Reeds to the Sea of the Palestine, and from the wilderness to the river. For I shall give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them, nor with their mighty ones. Let them not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me when you serve their mighty ones, when it becomes a snare to you. Uyakra. Leviticus. No, not what I call you. Uyakra. Ah, not back. Positions no bueno. Alright. Uyakra. Leviticus chapter 19. And YAHUAH spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to all the congregation of the children of Yasharal, and say to them, Be Kadash, for I, YAHUAH, your Elohim, am Kodash. Each one of you should revere his Amma and his Abba, and guard my Shabbatot. I am YAHUAH, your Elohim. Do not turn aside, do not turn to idols, and do not make for yourselves molded mighty ones. I am YAHUAH, your Elohim. And when you bring a shalom offering to YAHUAH, bring it for your acceptance. It is eaten the same yom you slaughter it, and on the next yom, and that what is left on the third yom is burned with fire. So if it is eaten at all on the third yom, it is abominable. It is not accepted. And he who eats it bears his wickedness, because he has profaned the Kodash offering of YAHUAH. And that being, the nafesh shall be cut off from his people. And when you reap the harvest of your land, do not completely reap the corners of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest, and do not glean your vineyard, or gather every grape of your vineyard. Leave them for the poor, and for the stranger. I am YAHUAH, your Elohim. Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another, and do not swear falsely by my name, my power and authority, and so profane the name, the power and authority of your Elohim. I am YAHUAH. Do not oppress your neighbor, and do not rob the wages of him who is hired. It is not to remain with you all night until Bakar. Do not curse the deaf, or put a stumbling block before the blind, but revere your Elohim. I am YAHUAH. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling. Do not be partial to the poor, or favor the face of the great, but rightly rule your neighbor in righteousness. Do not go slandering among your people. Do not stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am YAHUAH. Do not hate your ach in your lab. Reprove your neighbor for certain, and bear no sin because of him. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, and you shall ahava your neighbor as yourself. I am YAHUAH. Guard my laws. Do not let your high stock mate with another kind. Do not sow your field with mixed seed, and do not put a garment woven of two sorts of thread upon you. Skipping down verse 26. Do not eat with the blood. Do not practice divination or magic. Do not round the corner of your head, nor destroy the corner of your beard. And do not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor put tattoo marks on you. I am YAHUAH. Context of cutting the edge of your beard is the same context of cutting your flesh and for the dead and tattoo marks. Don't cut the edging, the line into the skin to ruin the growth, the lining, and scarring it to grow a certain way. I did that when I was middle school. Shaved all that, made it like, try to make it like the Rock, when he had the little peak on, and I scarred it that way so it doesn't grow right here. So I messed up. That's talking about though. Do not profane your bat. by making her a whore, so that the land is not whore, and the land becomes filled with wickedness. Guard my Shabbatot, and reverence my Makdash. It's funny, the word Makdash is actually just the word Kadash with an M in front of it. So, multitude of Kadashness. Where all the Kadashness is, it's magnified Kadash. The magnified Kadash place. Magnified room, the mass Kadash room. However you want to see, like the M is for multiplied Kadash. Multiple Kadash things in there. Mass Kadash room. Something like that. Reference by Makdash. I am Yahuwah. Do not turn to mediums, and do not seek after spiritists to be defiled by them. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Rise up before the gray-headed, and you shall favor the face of an old man, and shall revere your Elohim. I am Yahuwah. And when a stranger sojourns with you in your land, do not oppress him. Let the stranger who dwells among you be to you as the native among you, and you shall have him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Natsarym. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do no unrighteousness and right ruling, and measurement of length and weight, or in measuring liquids. Have right scales, right weights, a right alpha, and a right hand. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And you shall guard all my laws, and all my right rulings, and do them. I am Yahuwah. Devarim, chapter 10. Devarim, chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Yasharal, what is Yahuwah, your Elohim, asking of you, but to revere Yahuwah, your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to ahaba him, and to serve Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your love and with all your nafash, to guard the commands of Yahuwah and his laws that I command you this Yom for your Tov. See, the Shamayim and the Shamayim of Shamayim belong to Yahuwah, your Elohim, also the Arats with all that is in it. Yahuwah delighted only in your Abim, to ahaba them, and he chose their seed after them, you above all peoples, as it is this Yom. And you shall circumcise the foreskin of your lab, and harden your neck no more. For Yahuwah, your Elohim, is Elohim of mighty ones, and Adon of Adanim, the great Al, mighty and awesome Al Shaddai, who shows no partiality, nor takes a bribe. He executes right ruling for the Abba without Abba, and the widow, and Ahabas the stranger, giving him food and a garment. And you shall Ahaba the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. Revere Yahuwah, your Elohim, serve him, and cling to him, and swear by his name. He is your praise, and he is your Elohim, who has done for you these great and awesome deeds that your eyes have seen. Your Abim went down to Mitzrayim with 70 beings, Napashim, and now Yahuwah, your Elohim, has made you as numerous as the Kukabim of the Shamayim. Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 11. And you shall ahaba Yahuwah, your Elohim, and guard his charge. even his laws and his right rulings and his commands always. Skip to verse 13. And it shall be that if you diligently obey my commands that I command you this yom, to Ahaba Yahuwah, your Elohim, and to serve him with all your love and with all your nafash, then I shall give you the rain for your land in its season. Started raining a little bit today. The early rain and the latter rain, and you shall gather in your grain, and your new wine, and your oil. And I shall give grass in your fields for your high stock, and you shall eat and be satisfied. Guard yourselves, lest your love be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other mighty ones, and bow down to them. Then the displeasure of Yahuwah shall burn against you, and he shall shut up the Shamayim, and there be no rain, and the land not give its increase. And you shall perish quickly from the Tub land that Yahuwah is giving you. And you shall lay up these words of mine in your lab and in your nafash, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, so that your yomim and the yomim of your children are increased on the land of where Yahuwah swore to your Avim to give them, as the yomim of the Shamayim on the Arats. For if you diligently guard all these commands that I command you to do it, to Ahava Yahuwah, your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to cling to him, then Yahuwah shall drive out all these nations before you, and you shall dispossess greater and stronger nations than you. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads is yours, from the wilderness and Labanum, from the river Parat, even to the western sea is your border. No man shall stand against you. Yahuwah, your Elohim, shall put the dread of you and the fear of you upon all the land where you tread, as he has spoken to you. See, I am putting before you this yom a baraka and a curse. The baraka, when you obey the commands of Yahuwah, your Elohim, that I command you this yom, and the curse if you do not obey the commands of Yahuwah, your Elohim, but turn aside from the way that I commanded you this yom, to go after other mighty ones that you have not known. And it shall be when Yahuwah, your Elohim, has brought you into the land that you go to possess, that you shall put the baraka on Mount Gerizim, and the curse on Mount Ebal. Word of Yahuwah. Hallelujah, Yahusha. Hallelujah. Right. I'm getting tired, sleepy, so with that, this concludes the first part, and that and this concludes half of the first part of the Natsarym Shabat reading of the two great commands. We shall continue this in the AM at some point, late maybe, or even really early. I don't want to do in the middle. Either really early or really like 11 a.m. kind of late, so you can just kind of relax and enjoy Shabbat. But it's nice to wake up early and start reading sometimes and just do that too. Miss that, getting it in by yourself. So, may Yahuwah lead you, guide you into all that. And with that, Shabbat Shalom and Laila Tov. Have a joyful night's sleep. Yahuwah give you Tov night's sleep and pleasant dreams, according to his desire. Yahusha Mashiach. Amen. Hallelujah. Yahusha. Praise and Shabbat Shalom. Hallelujah. Ahavata.